What's up, gang? It's Chris Angel coming at you with Kurt Stockwell from Well Dressed Ballers. Kurt, how are you?
Hey, I'm great.
I love it. Here's episode 2, man. Episode 2.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
The human side of marketing.
We cut our teeth on episode 1.
We did. I felt like it went pretty well. Felt like it went pretty well. So we got 10 myths here. We got 10 myths that we want to unpack, and we want to get the first 5 done in this episode. Myths about websites. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. These are commonly things that come up in conversations with clients or potential clients about the web. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of misconception about what a website should do or why do I need one. There's a lot of stuff that is confusing around it. And so I think this is important to dive in and unpack some of these myths. So let's just dive right in. Let's get to the first myth. What's the first myth that you feel like people have?
I think the first myth that, believe it or not, in 2018, you wouldn't think this would be a myth, but the first myth, I think, is not everybody needs a website.
What?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
But they don't. But I have a local business that sells widgets to people that come into my store. Why would I need a website?
Exactly. Yeah. The concept is usually this to me, when I kind of start to unpack this with a client or with somebody who thinks this is the old guard is not the decision maker, the one that holds the purse strings.
Yeah.
Is not really a web user. So just kind of assumes that the internet or the web is kind of just this thing that other people play in. The reality is, even if you have a business, and I would agree, there are some businesses that a lot of their customer interaction does come face-to-face,
sure,
or, maybe over the phone or whatnot. But the reality is it's really a service to your customers to have a website where they can at least grab some information. So a contact information. Now, Google actually does a pretty good job of, whether you do the Google My Business service where you're going in and updating all your content information,
right?
Which, again, side note, free advice, go do that. Go to the website, literally search Google My Business, and fix all your wrong information on Google's, the information they have about you. So the reality is, you can get away with your information being provided when people search you, and Google provides it. But it's really kind of a reputation thing as well. People want to maybe see faces that they're going to be interacting with, or they want to get an understanding of, what do I expect when I walk in the door, or what is this business legit?
Right.
Is this business, do they care about my needs? And my needs many times are by searching things online or on my phone. I think that the myth of not everybody needs a website has been blown out of the water for a few years now, at least, because your customers expect at least some sort of utility, and maybe that's just basic information through a website.
I think let me ask the question a different way. So if not everybody needs a website, that's the myth. What would you say everybody knows they need? What does everybody need?
Ask that in another way. What do you mean?
Yeah, I know we didn't prep this question, but the thought that's there for me is everybody needs or wants customer service. Everybody needs or wants information. Everybody needs or wants connection. And I think if we thought of our websites as the deliverer of that, so people are thinking of a website as this thing on the internet that I don't need that. But if you thought every one of my customers needs to feel connected to.
Right. And a lot of that, I see where you're going there. Yeah. Yes, a lot of that information that you can provide to your customer really can be quite brief. I think when people feel like, oh, we don't need a website because, and this is one of the myth number 8, which we'll get there eventually, is that websites are kind of this necessary evil. So I feel like the bedrock of that myth is websites are a pain in the butt.
Right.
Because of a poor experience maybe that they've had. They did this website and then they pulled it down and well, we're never doing that again. But, even simple stuff like, these are the services we offer. These are the services we don't offer.
Right.
One of the guys that I did a website for was a plumber, and he was kind of vacillating whether he needed a website or not.
Right.
You know what? The reality is, Dan, is when you're showing up to somebody's house, people want to know what you look like.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, let's do a really simple website. You've got your contact information through your URL. People are going to click on it. And for a guy like a plumber, a lot of times that information can be acquired through many other resources on the internet. Sure. And the trades kind of have this thing where you can search for a plumber. You got name, telephone number, and then you can insert a web address. Well, I would want to see who's this guy that's coming to the door if I've never seen him before. Yeah. So I said, put your picture on there. He's like, actually, you know what I also want to do? I want to tell people what I don't do. Mm-hmm. Because that's going to help me from having to get into conversations with people and go, oh, sorry, I don't install water heaters. Right. Or I'm not going to come fix your toilet. I do this kind of plumbing, not that kind of plumbing. Yeah. And really that's that's kind of another way of thinking about a website. And really it is a service to your potential non-customer. Like, oh, I'm not going to waste my time getting a hold of you because I see you don't do this. Right. You know? And so there's a lot of different ways to rethink that myth. And usually that myth can be dispelled quite quickly if you start thinking through, how could I feel like I don't need a website, but let me think about it from my customer's perspective. Right. What could I provide them that would be a service to them? Right. And a lot of times answering their questions.
And how can I use my website to deliver that?
Right.
Right. That's great. Okay. So myth number 2, take me to myth number 2.
Myth number 2 is if you build it, they will come.
Yeah. Well, yeah, won't they?
That's right. There's only, I don't know, like 700 million websites out there. I mean,
right. Well, when you put it like that,
right. It's, what's the old phrase, spitting in the ocean?
Oh yeah. I haven't heard that, but that makes sense.
Yeah. It's like spitting in the ocean. So I think another thing that, another myth that people have is, man, I got this website and I think it's great and I built it myself, or even I had, a professional build it.
Right.
Just because it's built doesn't necessarily mean your customers will come.
Yeah.
We always say that a website is the first place to start because it is really online. It's really kind of the hub of, if you kind of think of your online marketing or your online presence, really, right. I mean, even offline as well, your website's the hub and all the spokes on your wheel are the other things that you're doing. They may be Facebook, might be LinkedIn, or Instagram, kind of the typical social media things, but networking, other things that you're involved with. Maybe somebody's writing an article about you and they want to link to your website. Yeah. If you're not doing kind of those spokes of the wheel, then your website can kind of be sitting out there in a desert with an open sign on the front door going, man, where are all the customers?
Is that another way of saying, like, if I say, okay, I'm going to build a website, and then I have these unrealistic expectations that just because I paid a bunch of money for a website and now I have one, that means that I'm going to be full of business.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what we're responding to.
It's a resource and it's a tool, but one of the things that we always talk about is referring to the website that we're building for you as kind of this high performance vehicle. Right. We deliver it, we back it into the garage, bring you around to the front, show you this nice, shiny, great looking high performance vehicle, hand you the keys, and then you put the keys in your pocket and go, wow, that looks great. You know, well, no, the point is taking it out and driving it, and what that means is creating great content where you can get people back to your web presence on a consistent basis.
Yeah. I love that. So you can't just build it and then hope people show up. You got to build it and then you use it, build it and then drive it,
build it and use it. Yeah. And, a great web design company that's really going to be worth its salt is one that can not only build it, but also give you instruction on how to use it. Right. If they don't specifically do the done for you services after the website, ask them who they would recommend to help you use that high performance vehicle.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, I love that. All right, take me to myth number 3.
Myth number 3 is good design doesn't matter. Any old site will work.
Right. Yeah, but it doesn't really matter. Like, as long as I have, because if I have text and I tell people what I do, isn't that enough?
Yeah. No, it's not.
Right.
There's the thing that we have heard often, and this is probably in the marketing world for decades and decades and decades, is I put that, in the print world, I did this 3-page brochure and I put it out there at my trade show, and it talks very specifically about the services that I offer, and nobody's interested. Well, you open up that trifold brochure back in the print days and it's like 9 paragraphs in 9-point font, and you're like, I don't even know where to look. So design is more than just colors and shapes.
Yeah, that's so good.
Design is what's called UX, or user experience. We like to say that the homepage of your website is kind of like your first date. Really, your whole website's kind of like your first date.
Yeah.
With your client, right? Yeah. You can't just bore them to death with gobs and gobs and gobs of information. You kind of need that permission to kind of go deeper in that conversation. And so a lot of times kind of that first date concept is, you're buttoned up a little bit more than normal. You want to be engaging. You want to not say too much, and you want to shut up at the right points and let them talk. We've all kind of been on that first date. Yeah. But the importance of good design is, again, not just with colors and shapes, it's with copy, with words as well. And if you can guide a user through your copy where they see how they can create relationship with you, how they can acquire the utility that your website is providing, then you will get that ROI that we're all looking for in anything that we invest in.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love that design does matter. Because it's about the user experience. Like design colors and shapes aren't exactly about user experience, but how you design and lay out those colors and shapes and how you move your text around and make it easy for the eye to move. Like all of that is about user experience.
Yeah. And a lot of times people try to say too much in their copy or in their website. And that actually brings us to the next myth that I need to say everything perfect in my copy and cover all bases.
Right.
Sometimes where we'll get stuck in the weeds with the client is they're like, well, the service that we provide, that kind of tells kind of the most of what we do in that, few sentences. That's just enough to engage a user. But we really need to say this and this and this and this and this and this and this, because there's that one time where we came across this client and they thought we did this and we actually really did that. And, I kind of stop them and go, okay, wait a minute. You can go through all of this with your client when they actually start engaging with you.
Right.
This isn't a contract. Your website's not a contract where you're promising everything. Obviously you don't want to lie in your
right. But you don't have to say everything to sort of
overwhelm. Again, that whole first date thing. We've all either been there or heard the horror stories of, man, I talked way too much and I overwhelmed them, and this person's never going to call me back. I blew it.
Right. Yeah.
And so you don't have to say everything in your copy. You can cover the bases that are necessary to engage the user. And then usually that next step is somebody filling out a form or a phone call or scheduling a free consultation. And that's where you really start to go into that stuff.
That's probably back to your date analogy. That, you have a second date, a third date, and more stuff comes out in conversation in that, where they get to know you more. And I think it's similar for your website. Like people get kind of their first impression, they decide to take the next step, go on a second date, and then you can kind of go into needs analysis, figure out what else does this person need, and then see how your business or services can come alongside of that.
Right. Another thing too is people feel like I have to say everything because I need all those keywords in there.
Oh, right.
So I need to just barf up a bunch of content because Google wants all those keywords. And keywords are relevant, but what Google cares more about is a usable website.
Right.
And the algorithms that Google puts out there, they know when users click away from your website quickly. That's called a bounce rate.
Yeah.
You have a high bounce rate. That means that people are landing on your page, getting confused, and clicking away. Yeah. If a user is engaging with your website longer, then that creates a smaller bounce rate. Yeah. And the algorithms will recognize that, and your search engine optimization will grow because you have a usable website.
I think that comes back to myth number 3. Like the myth is that good design doesn't matter, but when you have good design, it has a way of keeping people on your site longer because it's moving them through the story that you're telling.
Right. And that's organic SEO. So there's SEO that you can pay for, pay-per-click, things like that. And organic search engine optimization is the thing that is that comes out of a great user experience. And that's really what at the end of the day, Google's mostly concerned that your website is usable, and that's when you'll rank better organically.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I love it. I think that feels related to the fifth myth. Do you want to dive into that for a second?
Yeah. The fifth myth is all the content has to be above the fold. Now, above the fold comes from the old newspaper days. Well, the old newspaper days. There's still
right.
I think I saw a newspaper a couple weeks ago. I don't know. I haven't seen one, but the newspaper above the fold, all of the really important content that needs to grab the attention is above the fold of the newspaper. Well, in this day and age, it's the fold of your laptop, right?
Right.
Everything has to be above the fold of that. That myth has actually been dispelled. The concept was, if your content is not above the fold of the laptop, right, then people won't scroll down to keep reading your content. Mm-hmm. And that myth has actually been dispelled because of how users use the internet now. Mm-hmm. Our cell phones have really changed this concept, because as you scroll down your cell phone to read all of the content that you're trying to acquire or consume, that's that scrolling, that natural scrolling nature. And then also like things like Facebook, all of that copy, or all that content rather, is like scroll. So just naturally, humans now, when they use the internet, they just naturally want to scroll. And so you don't have to say all of your messaging above the fold. You want something initially engaging. You want people to realize, okay, this is what this website's about. Mm-hmm. This is how I can, how I see myself connecting with the product that they're selling. Mm-hmm. And, here's my first foot in the door if I want to connect with them. All of those kind of things need to be above the fold. A great title, a way to make that initial connection. Yeah. But most of your sales copy is probably going to be down below that. Yeah. And it's okay to have a website that's 3 or 4 scrolls of content. Yeah. Even 5 or 6, it's okay. If your copy or your design is engaging and is interesting, people will keep will stay on the page, and they will keep scrolling down that page to consume your messaging.
I think that's why I felt like it was connected to UX, so like user experience, and to design, because if you design it right, it feels good to scroll. It feels good to just keep following the story. My eyes keep going down, like what's next or what's next? What else do they have to say? And it doesn't matter how long you scroll,
right?
Because you're engaged in what's being told on the site.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. It's so good. Man, we could keep going, but for the sake of time, we got our first 5 done today, and I think we can come back in a future episode and get myths 6 through 10
definitely
kind of dialed in. I definitely think demystifying websites and starting to look like websites are a tool. We've said that now. Websites are a tool, and if we know how to use the tool, then all of a sudden it's not this mysterious thing. We use the tool for what the tool is there to be used for.
Right.
But I think people think like there's myths around it, like a hammer is a screwdriver, when we don't know what the tool is, then we go, why should we use it?
Right. Or it doesn't work.
Oh yeah. Or it doesn't work. That's perfect. Yep.
Yeah.
Totally. Kurt, if people want to learn more about sort of how you guys approach websites, what you guys do to help clients get their website sort of in a good user experience, how can people learn more about what you do?
Yeah, you can go to our website at welldressedwalrus.com. Or if you don't like typing all that out, you can go to wdwalrus.com. It'll go to the same place. And we've got our concepts on there, and our portfolio on there. We're in the if you're in Spokane, we're in the Tapio Center.
Nice.
That's on Thor and Freya. And swing by and see us. But the website, there you go.
The website.
A website. Yeah, a website.
Go spy on your website.
Yeah, that's right. You can connect with us through that website. Yeah.
I love it. Awesome. Kurt, it's always good. I love it. Can't wait for episode 3. Thanks for your time today, and we'll see you next episode.
Okay, thanks, Chris.